Hey everybody, so we're going to be talking about adding polynomials, and we're going to go ahead and get started. Adding polynomials is just like what you've talked about when you're just doing normal variables. It's just that you're going to be combining like terms. Now, something that we're adding on with like terms is that not only must they have the same variable, but they must have the same exponent. That's what it means to be like terms when we're working with polynomials and especially combining monomials. There are two different methods to do it. We're going to go over method one first, which is marking like terms. Something that we're going to be using when we're marking like terms is putting it in standard form. That reminder is that we're putting it in greatest to least in terms of your degree, and your degree being that the exponent's power. So for example, this first monomial, y to the fourth, has a degree of 4, while the second monomial, 3y, has a degree of 1. The first thing I do is I look for the highest degree in all of this, and the degree that I see that's the highest, because we've only got one variable, so I look at the highest exponent, and that's 4. I go with the first one I see, and I see y to the fourth. I'm going to mark it out in one color and write it down, just copy it exactly as it is. You keep the same sign, you don't change anything. You look in the entire problem and see if you see another one with the same variable and the same exponent, and I see negative 2y to the fourth, cross it out in the same color and write it down again. I don't see any more with an exponent of 4, so I'm going to go ahead and go to the next one, which is going to be 3, because again, we're working in standard form, which is from greatest to least. I see 2y to the third, or 2y cubed, write it in my next color. I don't see any more matching, so I move forward. There is nothing with an exponent of 2 here, but if we did, that's what we would put next. Since we don't, we move to the next degree, which would be the exponent of 1. Now, if you have an exponent of 1, they're not going to show it, they're not going to write it, so it's going to look just normal. It's going to be 3y or 2y, 2x, x, 11x, whatever the coefficient is, and then just the variable. The first one I saw was 3y, and I'm just working from left to right. So I put in 3y, and with that I also saw 2y, cross that off and put it there. After 1 technically comes 0. So you want to think about it as 4, 3, 2, 1, none. Which of these do not have a variable next to them? And those are our constants, 7 and negative 11. Those are marked off in our fourth color. Now these are all in standard form. This entire polynomial is in standard form in terms of the degree, greatest to least, but it's not simplified. You're going to end up combining your like terms now, and this is the most important part because you use it for the rest of your polynomials. You're going to combine your coefficients, but you keep the variable the same and you keep your exponent the same when you're adding, and like we're going to talk about in the next video, when you're subtracting. Do not change the variable and exponent. On this first one, it becomes negative 1 because you've got a 1y to the fourth and negative 2y to the fourth. 1 minus 2 gives you a negative 1y to the fourth. A reminder, you're not going to see negative 1 written before y to the fourth. You'll see it as negative y to the fourth. If you need to put a 1 in, please be sure to do so. But remember and recognize that you won't see that on any test in the future ever. 2y cubed has nothing to combine with, so it's easy, we just bring it on down. 3y plus 2y, your variable and exponent stay the same, and you just add your coefficients. So you get a 3 plus 2, and you get 5y. 7 minus 11, and that's just your normal integer rules, you get negative 4. Now that each of these monomials is only written once, you're done. You simplified it, and that's all there is to adding. So you're just going to box your final answer. That's using the market method. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about that second method right now for adding. Some people like to go ahead and stack it up. Your same rules apply. You're still going to be keeping the variables the same when you're combining your like terms and keeping your exponents the same. Those are your like terms. Again, you're going to be writing it in standard form, greatest to least in terms of degree, using your alphabetical order. All the same rules apply, just a different way of doing it, and you get to pick whichever one you like. Our second method, and we're going to be using a different example, is to line up like terms. Lucky for us, our first polynomial is already in standard form, so it makes our life a little bit easier. I'm just going to write it out, and you've noticed I've kind of written a little bit bigger, and I've kind of spaced it out a little bit as well. That's because we're going to be stacking them. When we're lining them up, we're going to be stacking the like terms with each other and writing it kind of like when we used to do adding and subtracting in elementary school. We're going to look at the first term, our first monomial, from the second set of polynomial, which is a 6x. That 6x ends up matching with the negative 3x. So I kind of mark it up a little bit as I go too. So I've gone ahead and used color again, and I drop it right under its matching term. After that, you've got negative 3x squared, and we're going to drop it in with the 5x squared. Again, same variable and exponent, it's a like term. Lastly, we've got our constant of negative 3, and we're going to drop it under the 4. You notice I've drawn my equal line right under, and you're going to work from right to left just like you used to when you were adding and subtracting. The first thing you're going to do is positive 4 minus 3, which is a positive 1. And then you work your way left. Negative 3 plus 6 is going to be a positive 3. And you keep your variable and exponent the same. That does not change when you're adding and subtracting. I cannot stress this enough. So lastly, we're going to have x squared again, but 5 minus 3, we're going to have 2 of them, and we're going to have 2x squared. And with line-up method, that's all there is. You end up combining your like terms and putting it in standard form at the same time. You just box your final answer, and you're done. Pick whichever method you like best. Use the markup or the lineup. Markup, stack it, whatever you call it. Use one of the methods. Make sure you keep your variables the same and your exponents the same. Hope this helps you with adding polynomials, and your next video is going to be subtracting polynomials, which uses adding subtract surprisingly. So I'll see you in subtracting.